I have a lot of friends, still friends, from grad school, from my various grad schools, and the first thing I'd say the first distinction I can think of is people who are advocates, people who are stellar, amazing, impassioned advocates for a cause that they truly believe in, and they're able to be advocates for the issues that they care about because they're outside of government. And even if I care about the same issue that they do, and it's something that I really believe in, and I'm glad that they are there to do their work, I can't do that work from inside government. But they're able to come to government and sometimes go and speak to a minister or speak to the senior decision makers or approach things from the political direction that I can't. It's good that I can't, that's appropriate, but they were the kind of people for whom they wanted to be able to really push the envelope on the thing that they cared about. And so that's sort of a different kind of approach to something, even though it's an issue that we both studied and we both cared a lot about and thought it was really important. There's two sides, and so that's one distinction. Also people who are in academia, continue to be in academia, and they sort of have a cooler temperament, as far as I can tell, and are willing to take or interested in taking a much longer perspective on something, and so they're bringing together all of the different elements in something and writing books and research papers and sort of analyzing things from outside. That's their métier, which is really different from being on the inside, where you can't sort of provide advice that's kind of, well, on the one hand, but on the other hand, but on the fourth hand, and no, you need to say, this is what you need to do, minister, go with this. And there's no nuance, there's no nuance, but it's difficult to get as much nuance as if you were an academic and able to really think through the 14 different threads that run through something, that push people in different directions, bring in the historical and all that kind of stuff. So that's another kind of distinction, I would say. Enough of me talking.
One of the things that Kate mentions is, I would describe as being able to work when there's imperfect information. To be one of the distinctions I've seen. It's like the distinction I've seen at work. I don't know if it's really between the people, but in academia, the way that the professional environment works is that you acknowledge you have imperfect information, you say more research needs to be done, or we require a better data set, or you address it as we're going to have to do more work. In the policy world, there are lots of things that will push you to have to make a decision, even though there's imperfect information, and you have to be the kind of person who's ready to take your best shot. I mean, whether it's political pressures, it could actually be pretty serious pressures where people's lives will be at risk if a decision isn't made. Could be all sorts of things. Allies want to make you a decision, want you to make a decision, and you got to go. Bosses want you to go, and you have to be ready to work in that environment. And certainly another thing that to me is a big difference is I always have to be able to answer the question, why should Canadians care? And in the academic context, that's not necessarily the question you have to ask, and it's fine. Like, there's nothing wrong with that, right? But you have a certain freedom to explore issues that are of interest to you, where maybe somewhere down the line you will actually find something that's pretty fascinating, but maybe it'll be a dead end. And you just get to move through a research issue a little bit more leisurely, look at the different plants and leaves on things, and really there is not a day that I can't be, if I can't answer the question, why should Canadians care, I have to stop immediately.
And I would just say, like, my master's was a particularly painful experience, I'd say, in that I recognize that I don't necessarily do well in time unspecific, large quantity sort of areas, and I ridiculously still did my PhD, but one of the things I recognized in terms of what I wanted out of a job was I knew the kind of work I needed to do was going to be project oriented, evolving and changing, and with a certain amount of sort of parameters. And I'd say, there are definitely jobs within the public service that don't have parameters, but for the most part, we work within a set of constraints, and we have timelines and deadlines, and we don't get to walk into our office in the morning and say, like, what should I write about this for my next book? Like, we pretty much, like, we have a task, and it's got a deadline, and yeah.
I was interested in the management training program that I noticed didn't seem to get posted last year, and I'm wondering if you guys have any idea if that's sort of disappearing, because I'm not bilingual. I would love to be bilingual, and I know that they train you before they even put you to work, and so if it isn't going to continue, is there another program that might help me with that?
How astute of you to notice.
The management trainee program did not do an intake last year, and is unlikely to do an intake this year.
There's been a bit of a rejigging in how the government does recruitment, and there's a de-emphasis on government-wide recruitment and an increased emphasis on recruitment for departments, where because they'll know what they're looking for, and they'll hire for their specific needs, and so each department will do their own thing.
But I would say that the recruitment programs that exist at the departmental level or at other, or the few generalist programs that still do exist, that this clerk and the overall recruitment and HR and the government has placed an increased emphasis on learning and development of its staff and personnel, and that there is a recognition that we are maintaining ourselves as a bilingual public service, and that given the amount of gaps that are likely to emerge, that our previous notion around French language training, because I'm assuming it's French that you're looking for, that does need to shift. And so an increasing number of departments are becoming increasingly flexible. So even if you're not necessarily getting it from your program, French language training is a function of a lot of departments and a lot of their personal development of their staff at all levels, but often with a recognition towards people who are going to need it in their career.
And that is one of the kinds of things that no matter what program you're coming in for, even if it's an individual competition, it's the kind of thing that I would always ask of a hiring manager. Somebody's interested in hiring you, I would always ask what opportunities are there for language training.
Or other kind of learning, anything.
Nobody will think that's, too forward. It's absolutely.